Michael and Kerry Ives, a couple from Garden City, Flintshire, are accused of the horrific murder of their 2-year-old grandson, Ethan Ives-Griffiths, who died on August 16, 2021, from catastrophic brain injuries. Alongside their daughter, Shannon Ives, they face charges of murder, causing or allowing the death of a child, and cruelty to a child, all of which they deny. The toddler was found severely underweight, covered in bruises, and subjected to brutal abuse. In this documentary, we'll examine their alleged crimes through the lens of psychology and psychoanalysis, uncovering the dark motive behind this unthinkable act. Why focus on Michael and Kerry Ives? Their alleged crime, a toddler's murder at the hands of those meant to protect him, is a chilling anomaly that demands psychological scrutiny. The brutality, the betrayal, the targeting of a defenseless child make this case a haunting study in human darkness. Picture this. August 14, 2021, a small house in Flintshire. Ethan Ives-Griffiths, just 2 years old, lies unconscious, his tiny body battered with 40 external injuries, his brain ravaged by a deliberate, violent assault. Bruises cover his frail frame, his weight a mere 22 pounds, bones visible beneath his skin. The prosecution alleges Michael and Kerry inflicted blunt force trauma and forceful shaking, a savage act that ended his life 2 days later at Alderhay Children's Hospital. CCTV footage shows Ethan dangled like a rag doll by Michael, tossed around on a trampoline by other children while the adults watched, unmoved. This wasn't just neglect, it was a calculated descent into cruelty, a nightmare that begs a question. What drives a family to destroy one of their own? Let's step into the world of Michael and Kerry Ives to understand how such horror could unfold. Little is publicly known about their early lives. Court records don't delve into their childhoods, schooling, or jobs, but we can piece together a psychological profile from their actions and the environment they created. Living in a modest home on Kingsley Road, Garden City, the Ives were a couple in their mid-40s, raising their daughter Shannon and her son Ethan alongside other children. The household, described by prosecutor Caroline Reeves KC, was a place of pain and misery for Ethan, where he was targeted as an object of abuse and neglect. Psychologically, this suggests a dynamic of dehumanization, where Ethan was stripped of his humanity, seen not as a child but as a target for frustration or rage. What could drive grandparents to such cruelty? Psychoanalytically, we look to attachment theory. If Michael and Kerry experienced unstable or abusive upbringings themselves, they might have developed insecure attachment styles, leading to emotional detachment or difficulty empathizing with a vulnerable child. Their alleged encouragement of other children to mistreat Ethan as play points to a sadistic personality trait, where pleasure is derived from other suffering. This isn't just negligence, it's a deliberate power dynamic, where Ethan's smallness and helplessness made him an easy target for control. Forensic psychologist Dr. Julian Boone suggests such behavior can stem from narcissistic tendencies, where individuals project their own insecurities onto a scapegoat, in this case, a toddler who couldn't fight back. Shannon's role adds another layer. She told police she was petrified of her parents, having seen them shake Ethan in anger repeatedly. This suggests a household ruled by fear, possibly indicating intergenerational trauma, where cycles of abuse persist across generations. If Michael and Kerry grew up in environments where violence was normalized, they may have internalized it as a way to exert control. Psychologically, their denial of guilt and attempt to blame Shannon points to deflection, a defense mechanism to avoid accountability. This pact of silence, as the prosecution called it, hints at a shared pathology, possibly a folie à deux, where two people reinforce each other's distorted reality, enabling horrific acts. The events leading to Ethan's death are a descent into a nightmare. Court evidence paints a grim picture. Ethan, just 2 years and 4 months old, was living in a house where he was quiet, withdrawn, small, and painfully thin. CCTV footage from the Ives garden shows a frail toddler struggling to balance on a trampoline as older children bounce forcefully around him, causing him to fall repeatedly, flopping like a rag doll, according to prosecutor Caroline Reeves. In one clip, Michael Ives places Ethan's hands on his head, a supposed disciplinary tactic, while the child, barely able to stand, tries to comply before collapsing again. Neither Michael, Kerry, nor Shannon, who was also present, intervened. Not a single one of them stops it, Reeves told the court, her voice heavy with condemnation. On August 12, 2021, CCTV captured Michael carrying Ethan by one arm, dangling him like a rag doll, before appearing to strike him in the back seat of the car. Kerry stood by, showing not a jot of concern, the prosecution noted. 2 days later, on August 14th, the fatal assault occurred. Ethan was alone with Michael and Kerry, Shannon upstairs on her phone, when he suffered catastrophic brain injuries from what medical experts described as deliberate use of force, likely involving forceful shaking and blunt trauma. His abdomen bore marks of forceful blows, his body covered in 40 bruises. When he collapsed, Kerry waited 20 agonizing minutes before calling 999. At 9:21 p.m., he just stopped breathing, she claimed, but the truth was far darker. Ethan was rushed to the Countess of Chester Hospital, then to Alderhay, where surgeons fought to save him. He died on August 16th, his tiny body too broken to survive. Psychologically, this brutality suggests displaced aggression. Ethan, vulnerable and dependent, became a target for unprocessed anger, perhaps from stressors like financial strain, family dysfunction, or personal failures. Psychoanalytically, this aligns with Freud's concept of the death drive, a destructive impulse turned outward. The Ives alleged encouragement of other children to mistreat Ethan points to a group dynamic of abuse, where cruelty was normalized, even gamified, stripping away empathy. Ethan's small size and inability to resist made him a perfect victim for their need to dominate. What drives someone to harm a toddler? Let's dive into the psyche of Michael and Kerry Ives. While we lack detailed personal histories, their actions suggest antisocial personality traits, characterized by a lack of remorse and disregard for others' rights. Their alleged pact of silence to blame Shannon indicates manipulative behavior, a hallmark of such disorders. Psychoanalytically, their treatment of Ethan as an object of abuse suggests object relations dysfunction, where they fail to see him as a person with feelings, instead projecting their rage onto him. This dehumanization is often rooted in deep-seated shame or inadequacy, which they externalize through violence. The delay in calling 999, 20 minutes after Ethan's collapse, points to callous unconcern, a trait linked to psychopathy. Forensic psychiatrist Dr. Adrian West notes that such delays often reflect a hope that the victim's death will erase evidence of guilt. The Ives claim that Ethan collapsed suddenly, and their attempt to pin the blame on Shannon suggests narcissistic deflection, where they protected their self-image by scapegoating their daughter. Shannon's failure to intervene, despite knowing her parents' abusive tendencies, hints at learned helplessness, a psychological state where fear and powerlessness paralyze action. Her admission of being petrified of her parents suggests a trauma bond, where she was trapped in a cycle of fear and loyalty. The method of Ethan's death, forceful shaking and blunt trauma, requires intense rage or cold calculation. Psychologically, this aligns with explosive aggression, where suppressed anger erupts in violent bursts. The 40 bruises and abdominal injuries indicate a pattern of abuse, not a one-off act, suggesting a sadistic pleasure in Ethan's suffering. Psychoanalytically, this could reflect a regression to a primitive state, where the Ives acted on base impulses without moral restraint, their superego overridden by rage or entitlement. The trial at Mole Crown Court, beginning June 2025, sent shockwaves through Flintshire. It's unthinkable, grandparents hurting their own grandchild, a neighbor told the BBC, voice trembling. The community grappled with the betrayal of trust. The idea that a home meant to be safe was a house of horrors. Media outlets, from the Daily Post to the Times, described Ethan's final weeks as harrowing, with CCTV footage painting a grim picture of neglect and cruelty. The prosecution's words, casual brutality, echoed in headlines, chilling readers. Social services faced scrutiny for missing signs of abuse, with reports noting Ethan's severe underweight condition and visible bruises. The trial revealed a family dynamic steeped in fear. Shannon's claim that she feared her parents, coupled with her inaction, painted a picture of a household where violence was normalized. She had seen them shaking Ethan in anger on many occasions, Prosecutor Reeves told the court, highlighting a pattern of abuse that went unchecked. The community's horror was palpable, with one resident telling North Wales Live, "You trust family protect a child, not destroy him." Michael and Kerry Ives were arrested in September 2021, alongside Shannon, after Ethan's death. The breakthrough came from medical evidence and CCTV footage, which contradicted their claim of a sudden collapse. The couple's attempt to blame Shannon unraveled as prosecutors exposed their concerted cover-up. Michael claimed Ethan was clumsy, falling often, while Kerry insisted he ate well. Claims the prosecution called lies, pointing to Ethan's emaciated state. The trial, expected to last 6 weeks, continues as of June 2025, with the Ives and Shannon pleading not guilty. If convicted, they face life imprisonment. Philosophically, this case forces us to confront the nature of evil. Hannah Arendt's concept of the banality of evil doesn't fully apply. Michael and Kerry's alleged actions were not thoughtless but deliberate, a choice to inflict pain on the most vulnerable. Existentialist Jean-Paul Sartre might argue they exercise free will in choosing cruelty, rejecting empathy to assert power. Yet, their behavior suggests a deeper failure, a surrender to destructive impulses rooted in their own unresolved pain. Their pact of silence reflects a refusal to face their own darkness, a cowardice that compounds their guilt. Ethan's death is a tragedy that haunts Flintshire and beyond. He was just a baby, helpless, a family friend told the leader, tears in her voice. Psychologically, this case shows how untreated trauma and dysfunctional dynamics can spiral into unimaginable cruelty. The Ives' alleged actions reveal a chilling truth. Even those closest to us can harbor darkness. Philosophically, it asks whether we can ever truly know the human heart, or protect the vulnerable from its worst impulses. Ethan's story is a call to vigilance, a reminder that evil often hides behind closed doors.